Welcome to my D4Y3 stock to spaded video. Now you're probably wondering why a stock to spaded video is only 4.5 minutes long. That's because it's only one match. I went from completely stock with no upgrades, having never played this aircraft, to 10,000 some EXP, enough for all of the upgrades, with no boosters on, mind you, in one match. And I think it frames really some commentary that I want to make here because this is not an exceptional match. Stock, this aircraft has two 60-kilogram bombs. I drop one of those on each base. And then what you're going to see here is what an aircraft like this one or the B7A2 with a similarly poor bomb load is really used for. It says it's a bomber and it gets a bomber spawn, but let's be honest, the B7A2, or in this case, the D4Y3, are not actually bombers. Not really. They're interceptors. And that's a P-36. I'm actually playing this match with my son. He's the bomber up high. And that P-36 was climbing towards us, probably figuring, as many fighters do, that a bomber represents a relatively easy target. Nothing could be further than the truth for some of these Japanese dive bombers. And right now, there's yet another fighter coming in towards me, and I'm just going to loop him around. And I have a friendly BF-109 that's actually going to come in and blow chunks out of his plane well before he gets in range for me to finish energy trapping him, because the reality is I may be flying a bomber, but my turn rate is much, much better than his. Now my roll is a little sluggish, and maybe if I don't start with a huge energy advantage, my climb, my energy generation's not quite as good. But the reality is that early to mid match, I'm always going to have an energy advantage because I got to start at like 4,000 meters. And even in a stock aircraft, it's very, very difficult to overcome that kind of disadvantage. Now, I missed a run on a P-39N there, but I've significantly impeded his ability to dogfight my 109, and we're just going to kind of push him down. And eventually, we're going to the interesting part of the match where I drop the hammer on this P-39N. And the P-39N is instructive. I actually spoke with the player after the match. He's a good and experienced player, and of course, at this BR, the P-39N is a monster of an aircraft. I've flown it myself. It can either be a lot of fun to fly or a little boring to fly, depending on your perspective. But the point here is that this gentleman, as you're going to see, he knows enough to throttle drop. He knows enough to try and force a reversal. And that's not new player stuff, right? So we're not talking about somebody in their first match. We're not talking about an inexperienced P-39N player here. And because he's in a position of energy disadvantage, despite his aircraft's tremendous energy generation, he is still really going to struggle against a completely stock Japanese dive bomber. And I think it's worth a look from a balancing perspective, right? We need to ask ourselves if the B7A2, if the DYK3, if some of these Japanese aircraft that really don't carry the payload to do actual bombing, but have a tremendous advantage based on their airspawn and maneuverability, are where they should be, whether that's BR wise, whether that's classification and where they spawn, just a lot of things to consider. But obviously, being able to finish a match against a tough and experienced opponent with a solid aerial victory there, and two aerial victories, a couple of bombs dropped, and I don't know about the rewards, right? I don't know if that should be worth enough RP to completely spade the aircraft, but there it is, stock to spade.